Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For trucks, obviously. On the lot.
He became steel resistant.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Earthworks Hub. Today I have a guest with me. We're going to be talking a little bit about the mining sector, and most of you might have already seen or heard of this company, but this is Brett Komisky from Komisky Mining Services. Brett, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, been watching what you're doing, so I'm glad you got a hold of us through our Instagram pages, and welcome viewers.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. No, really, really good to have you on. I haven't had anyone from the mining sector yet, so this is going to be interesting. Be an interesting chat. I'm really keen to hear what happens and how it all works. So tell us a little bit, give us a bit of a brief history on Komisky Mining Services and like what was the inspiration behind starting it?
Look, at first I was with my dad, Komisky Earth Moving, mainly land development work, D5s, Cat 12 graders, moved up to D7s, into D8s, D9s, scrub pulling, stick raking, dam building, and then sort of got a introduction. My dad's always been in the mines. He was at Goonyella Mine as a dragline operator, that sort of thing, trainer, assessor. Moved on to mine superintendent, mine manager, that sort of thing. So I've had a pretty good teacher over the years. I was with him for 36 years. We end up winning a major mining contract. I had to leave I'm a dozer operator by trade. I had to leave that and go in to run the workshop because that's where our costing was. So we won a contract at Gillenbar Plains near Blackwater in central Queensland. So did that for 11 years. That contract finished, and then my dad wanted to get out, so we sold the family business. Had 6 months virtually off, probably not even that, and then started this business, Komisky Mining Services. Started with myself and my partner, and then it's just gone crazy. We've got nearly 180 machines in our fleet now. So Komisky Earth Moving is still going with my dad. He is retired. He plays on a farm and plays with cows and that sort of thing. He's still got a few machines of his own, but moved into this sector because I really didn't know how to do anything else. I did try to get into civil, what I was just talking to you about. I really was a bit green in that field, how things work. So, look, had a bit of a crack at that, but failed dismally, and then got back into the mining sector, which what I was doing, and just gone from there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting that you say that because I've got, I'm the opposite. Yeah, I've got no mining experience at all. So a lot of civil though.
I got into it when I was 16. I ended up getting a job at German Creek Mine in drill and dragline maintenance. I was always exposed to the mining game, like going out to the mines with my dad when I was, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, fascinated with the big stuff, the drag lines. Because he was dragline foreman, we got to go on the drag lines and get to shut them down and all that sort of stuff. Exposed to large dozers. All my uncles have got dozers and machines on their farm, so got exposed to that. But working at the drill and dragline maintenance also gave me a different perspective as working on them. Then probably a lot of your viewers don't want to hear this, but then the unions were pretty strong in the mining game back that part, which I'm not a fan, unfortunately. I got rubbed up the wrong way by a few, so I distanced myself from them. Then we left German Creek, and my dad wanted to leave as well, so we ended up starting Komisky Earth Moving. So I was 17, bought a D5 and a Cat 12 grader, and that's how we kicked the family business off. So far cry from the mining sector, that's for sure how it works. But look, we got an invite back to German Creek umpteen years later, and we had D9s and D8s. Well, they wanted to hire one of our D9s while they were rebuilding some of their machines, and that turned into a 3-week job, turned into 3 years later. Went out then and bought 15-odd D10s and D11s and 16G graders and just got really busy, just got thrown into the vortex of the mining game, that was for sure.
Yeah. It's
pretty well much left on my own. My dad ended up wanting to go back trainer assessor. At that stage in New South Wales, the transition from trainer stuff was going on. There was a lot of training. He was writing a lot of the manuals for training, operator training manuals. So he pretty well left me to run the family business, and he was going down into New South Wales doing that. So working around that Vickery, Howick, Singleton, Muswellbrook area. So he did that for 3 or 4 years while I just potted along and ran the family business. And I virtually lived out of a car, out of a four-wheel drive with my clothes and toolboxes and workshop manuals in the front with me, and off I went. Wasn't home too much. I was still living at home, and I was probably age 27, living in camps, that sort of things. Pretty well got engulfed in the business, working 7 days a week, 6 days a week, that sort of thing. So that's what got us started in my family business, and then got offered an opportunity to do a contract at Gillenbar Plains. Well, there was, 80 odd machines working in that pit there. So I had a fair transition. I really loved operating machinery. Got to see the high track dozers come in. I spent many an hour on the D8s, D8Ns, D8Ts. But unfortunately, when we got the size that we were, I just couldn't do it anymore. Trying to operate a machine, and, there's a lot of cost involved with maintaining that size machinery. I really, I had some people in there that, were a bit greener than what I were and didn't understand costs. So I decided to hang my work boots up and go into the office. And that's where I stayed for virtually 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a fair transition for me. I didn't even know how to turn a computer on, mate, to be quite honest. I was lucky enough we employed a good friend of mine in the office with me, and I just said, well, stop whinging and teach me. And that's where it all started from. I learned another aspect of the mining game, that was for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I went back into the field, did a bit of operating, the new, we got a new EX 2500-6, one of the first ones in Australia. So I spent a bit of time on that. We had a 994 wheel loader, big one, 200 tonner. So I spent a bit of time on that. We got a new 5600, 600 ton class machine. So we used to go down and have a bit of play on that one to keep my hand at it type thing. Try and work on weekends up at the coal plant, loading coal through the crusher. So, and then on night shift, I looked after one of the crews for 3 months. Well, their boss went away on holidays, so that was pretty good. Jump on the machines and, run the water cart round, whatever. So I've always tried to dabble in it as well at the same time, keep my eye in.
A quick shout out to our platinum sponsors, Earth Moving Warehouse and Melbourne Tractors. Yeah. Yep. All right. And then what does Komiski comes up as a hiring company?
Yeah, well,
so is that what you actually do? Just to rent the machines out, or do you do a bit of everything?
Yeah, we do that now. So when we transitioned from Komiski Earth Moving, we went into a lot of the dry hire stuff, but then we went into full mine operation. Then when we sold the family business, I started Komiski Mining Services up. So we started with an EX 1900 and then bought some 16M graders. So virtually dry hire. So give them the machine to use, hire it out. We do 2 big fully maintained contracts as well, where we supply all the maintenance for the mine site. So full on, do all the planning, ordering the filters. The mine supplies the oil, operators and tyres, especially for the large dump trucks. So we've got 2 of those operations running, one in Queensland and one in New South Wales. We also operate in Western Australia, probably only got about 16 machines over that side. Dabbled a bit over there, but just the distance from home was never feasible. We do have people working over there now. New South Wales, we're based in Singleton, have an office there, have a manager, BDM and some field fitters. Queensland is our main hub. So I'm based in Brisbane. My office is in the city. And my business partner, Brendan Camilleri, he started about 2 years after I started this business. It just got too busy for me to handle on my own. And he sort of came from that corporate background. He was one of Hitachi Australia's main sales managers. So he's got a fair background in the industry as well. So yeah, he come on board. So he took over all the, looking after the corporate side of it. Travelling to Brisbane, and then I sort of stayed on site then and did all the site work as being a workshop manager for 10 years, I was doing all the planning and shutdowns and that sort of thing on site. So pretty well we had a role reversal, because it's funny, he's actually a fitter by trade, I'm not. So we did a full role reversal. So he was coming down here and I was going to site. So, but it was good. I'd been doing it for so long, my eye was pretty well in, and who to talk to about repairs and that sort of thing. But yeah, we're a fully dry hired business as such. So we do everything from D10 size machine dozer, 16M graders. We've got one of the biggest fleets in Australia of the Cat 24M grader, the big one. We run about 38 to 40 240-ton trucks. We got 777 size water carts, 785 size water carts, 789 size water carts. We run 360, 500-ton, 600-ton excavators. So nearly 185 machines in our fleet all told. It's a fair mission. Our main workshop hub is in Mackay in central Queensland, or on the coast, should I say. What I do in Brisbane is mainly HR and commercial and accounting. So we do that in Brisbane, because that's where mainly the big houses are, with our main customers being BMA, Anglo, Rio Tinto, those sort of people, Whitehaven. So it's always good just to walk out of the office and go down and see them.
Yeah.
Whether it's for a new job or a dispute or whatever.
So, by the sounds of it, you guys are like spread out, like pretty wide. I laugh when you say, like, I've only got 16 machines out in WA. It's like only 16 machines. So to some of us, one machine's a lot. Yeah. So
look, when I used to do this, and then I got bigger, like people would sort of. It's funny when you work on mine sites. Like I had one. A guy older than me when I started when I was 16, he was about 22, and he come from a boilermaker background. He would just be in awe of these big machines that used to come through the workshop. And it's funny, he said after a couple of years, it then just started to grow on him that he walked just naturally amongst them. So you'd say walking freely amongst giants, which is what they are, but you do get used to it. And you also get used to the costs. Like, I'll do a purchase order of $200,000 or, $2 million for a new machine, and it doesn't sort of faze me anymore, because that's what we work in. It's the same probably profit margins of what you seen when you were doing your business, but it's just such a big volume of what we do each month and each week. You just get used to it. Like operating a 600-ton digger or whatever just becomes the norm. So I'm sure other listeners out there, once they play on stuff like this, like jumping on a 240-ton truck is nothing. So you just get used to the size of it.
I think you're right, because when I started my business, the first machine I bought was a 20-tonner, and I came from like no background of I was probably the opposite. I used to be an office boy, and then went into this industry. And then when I got my 20-tonner, I used to complain about car services that were like $300, and then I got my first bill for one of my like 1,000-hour services, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like everything was thousands, nothing's hundreds, it's all thousands. And then you're right, you become used to it. But then and then you, like you say, you become so like immune to it, or it becomes a norm, that when I tell like even my parents, I used to say how much I bought a machine for, and they'd be like, "You spent 250 grand on the machine? What the hell?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what." But it's like normal to me. I'm like, it's in conversation.
It
Like
rolls up.
yeah. So yeah, as you get bigger and you're dealing with bigger things, I suppose it just becomes a norm. Yeah.
Well, we bought our new Cat 6040 excavator a couple of years ago, and that was 10.6 million or something. And that didn't sort of faze me at doing that, even borrowing it. Like, and everyone goes, "How do you sleep?" Well, I go to bed, I've got enough other dramas with bloody race cars not working and all that sort of stuff. So, or we'll do 3 engines in 1 week, and they're $1 million an engine for our dump trucks, but it doesn't faze you. So you get used to it. It's not that you would call it being spoilt or a little rich boy or whatever. It's just we run at that same profit margins as someone who owns a cafe or a newsagent. It's just that we do it in volume, in expenses. So
Yeah.
It's just sheer volume, and that's how we get through. Like, I've seen people try and specialise their business in either they'll just do graders or water carts or dozers or whatever. We found that we just couldn't do that in this size business. Like, 1 minute dozers will be the flavour of the month, or, 777 water carts will be the flavour, or, this week it's been D10's been the flavour. So it's more or less you're a convenience store for the mines. Like, if you haven't got something, they'll go somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
we tried to spread our wings. I ran a whole mine site with every available piece of machinery, so it was no different coming into this. So that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to cover all our bases, and also spreading into New South Wales and WA sort of helped a lot, especially this year with the weather. In Queensland, we had that 4 months at the beginning of the year with weather, and that destroyed us. Like, we went downhill so quick, but lucky enough, they were still turning money over in WA. New South Wales would be raining 1 week and then Queensland would be dry and vice versa. So it did help us out heaps, and I pity the people that were just central in one area that copped all the rain. It just knocks your cash flow around so much. That's definitely helped spreading our wings over Australia, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're right, because a lot of the viewers say, like, on every Sunday night I do a live session and we go Australia wide on Instagram, and people join in and chat and talk, and a lot of guys say that they're struggling, yeah, especially up north, because not only is the weather not helping them, now they're getting all of us Victorians coming up there and moving our machines up because there's no work in Melbourne, so everyone's going up there, so now they're suffering again.
Yeah.
It's
Look, this
tough.
has probably been one of the quietest years that we've had. Like, the rain knocked us around for 4 months, and then a lot of the big contracts got knocked on the head with what's happening in the world. Coal seems to go in about a 3-year cycle, and we're sort of at the lull at the moment with that. A lot of the mines were cashed up over the last 3 years, sorry. So, they've gone and purchased a lot of new machinery, so we sort of lose out on that side of things. But look, we're just in a cycle. WA's been quiet for a long time with iron ore. It's just only just starting to pick up a bit now, I think. I've got one of my guys over there at the moment sort of looking for some jobs. We don't do anything in Victoria. New South Wales just sort of has been ticking along. So, look, we have good cycles and we have bad like any other industries. The biggest
Yeah.
killer was 4 months of wet weather, just about destroyed us. So, but look, I'm still here talking to you today, and we'll keep ticking along and keep trying finding ways of making some cash.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You're saying before that you're trying to spread your wings and have various equipment. How do you choose what to buy so that you can rent it out to these guys? Like, do you use some sort of data, or do they tell you, like, we're going to need this?
And mainly what the mines, you pretty well work out what they're buying as such, what they got in their fleet. Because one of the biggest things is if you bring on an X machine, and they've got no training packages for it, filters in the warehouse, people have never seen them before, it makes it very hard to get in the door. So one thing is you've either got to give it to them for free or thereabouts, expect them not to move. So a lot of our decisions are on what we've learned in the past and also what the corporate world wants into hire sort of thing. New machines are getting very expensive, which I think the viewers will understand that too. Everything's getting expensive. Are you going to get a return on your investment? We're just not buying these machines for the mine's sake. We got to make a living out of them. So choose wisely. We try and balance our fleet with 50 new and second hand. We do a bit of Rob Peter to pay Paul type stuff. Are a lot of the components compatible with each other? If one goes down, can we steal a component to put on another one? We just made a transition last year. We went into the 3F 240-ton truck. Well, there's not too much that fits our current fleet. They're more expensive to run, and what we're finding out now is we're not getting any more extra hire money for them as such. So they're probably not, at the moment, a good thing to invest in. So we probably won't be doing any more purchases of them in the near future. And also what we've been doing over the last couple of years is been rebuilding a lot of our machines. So once they're paid off, we get them into the shop and do full rebuilds on them. The rebuilds are probably a bit less than half price. So we've just done about $27 million worth of rebuilds. So that's what our main game at the moment is, rebuilding all our assets.
Yeah, yeah. And when you talk about these machines and that, I suppose I'm hearing a lot about all these mines. You know, there's always big safety aspects when it comes to mines, and they're talking about putting in, you know, like machines that don't need operators. You know, they're all AI operated or remotely operated. And that, how does that affect you guys?
Look, that is a big thing. We do talk to a lot of people in the industry. Look, we don't try and go near them. I think it's something that later on we'll definitely have to transition into. We don't get asked all the time to do, you know, driverless trucks. There is some sites now in Queensland that have got them. Thiess are running some at Olive Downs. Look, for us being a contractor, I think there's still enough outside that without chasing that. We did try to buy some trucks about 4 years ago that were set up for autonomous operations. That sort of fell through. So, look, I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on. Look, all the AI stuff. I was only in New South Wales about a month ago catching up with one of my friends that owns a business down there. He's definitely going to have to get into it. Some of them are transitioning into that stuff. It's mainly what the customer wants. If a customer comes to us and says, you know, we need 5, 6 autonomous machines to do a job, it's for this long, well, then we would seriously look at doing it. But at the moment, it's very limited, probably more in Western Australia where the big long runs with the trucks are. They've been doing it for years over there. So
Yeah.
Queensland, the way the mining pits are probably not set up for that. But Olive Downs is probably going to be a true testament if it's seriously going to work for someone. We had some of our 93Fs working there, so just to fill in while their new trucks were getting built. So it'll definitely have to come. We'll have to seriously look at it. You know, bringing AI into our business, there'll be benefits there. We do a lot of media stuff on Instagram. That I believe that's how you found us.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Try and do a lot of that with, you know, rebuilds, what we're doing, moving machines around. So that's been a big thing of bringing a media person on to handle that for us. A lot of people like watching what we do, you know, and also I race off-road cars, so they're keen to catch up with what I'm doing there. So yeah, I think I've got to keep an eye on our business and make sure that we're still heading in the right direction.
Yeah. And I want to actually talk to you a bit about that off-road racing in a minute. I just want to ask one question. We mentioned that these machines that you've got are like giants and you're walking amongst giants. How do you move these giants? Because I imagine it's not like I just call a float and he'll come and pick it up. There must be a lot more involved. Like what's the process of moving one of these bits of equipment?
Look, there is. First of all, you've got to put in permits to shift them. You know, up to 3 weeks waiting on a permit, whether it be Queensland or New South Wales. In WA, they use wardens to escort the machines around. Now, for instance, say for a D10, you know, you might get away with pulling the ROPS off the top, the blade off to haul them on a float. The D11s, you've got to go a bit further and take blades off, ROPS off. Cylinders maybe need to come off for height restrictions. And then when you're talking our 240-ton trucks, you know, man, I shifted some across to WA, and that's $150,000 a truck to shift. So, you know, when we're hauling 6 of them back from WA to New South Wales a few years ago, it's a huge expense for our business. You do get some back from certain companies that'll pay you the mob on that side of things. So yeah, you've got to break a truck down. You'll take the tray off. You know, a lot of times you'll take the cab off, the walkways off the front. Some even got to take final drives off, depending on where they're going. So it's a huge cost. And then when you get to where you're going, then you've got to put it back together. So you've got to allow for cranes, labour on site to put it together. And then probably one thing you were talking about before, what the mines want, is what's called mine spec. So a mine spec can cost you up to $150,000 to $200,000 on a machine. So that's all your safety, high vis tape, or you know, your fast fills on everything. As far as the operator go, emergency stop buttons, fire suppression, fire extinguishers, all your grated walkways, your quick grip for your shoes, your turning signals, your clearance lights. They might want a green flashing light or a blue flashing light on the grill. So before we even go to site, we get awarded the job and then we ask for their mine site specifics for a machine. So they will send us that. rim register. So all the rims have got to be registered because we've had deaths in our industry with rim splitting and that sort of thing. So ball studs. So your ball studs have got to be up to checks. All your pressure vessels have got to be tested. So even before you go on site, there is a ton of paperwork you got to give the mine sites on your machine, even before you tick the box. So that's all got to be done. You contact then the transport companies and what you got, where you're going to, and then they'll give you a breakdown configuration. So then you'll strip it down with a crane. You'll order 1 or 2 floats and maybe a semi to take the ROPS and the small bits, and off you go. So then when it gets to site, it gets assembled. They'll sign off on it as in a dump truck. Then it'll have to have a brake test. It'll have all your ball studs and pressure vessel checks, and it'll get ticked and off it goes. So sometimes it can take 6 weeks to 2 months. So what we usually do when we're moving a machine from one site to another, we allow 3 months of no income. Virtually that's what you're going to be out of pocket with. It's just not a simple, let's get a job, let's go. We're going to be working next week. Forget it. It doesn't happen in this industry. If it did, I'd be going buying a lotto ticket the next day. It's just the process, and it's get used to it. You can jump up and down and scream all you want. It'd be good if it was a bit more streamlined and all the mines had the same configurations and all that might, speed it up a day or two, but unfortunately not. We allow 3 months of no income for a machine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just get caught. You just get caught with doing your forward projection, as in cash flow.
Yeah.
If you get it going within, say, 6 weeks, hey, it's a bonus. Good on you, you know.
Man, that's amazing. I never knew there was that much involved. I knew it'd be a bit extra, but I didn't know there was that much, yeah. And like you say, the extra cost in safety and that now, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Hey, did you know that Earthworks Hub is more than just a podcast? On our website, you can advertise your business in the directory, see the latest news, and get discounts from our partners. You can also become a member on our Patreon, where you'll enjoy podcasts with video, exclusive content, and behind the scenes, webinars, and chat with other members in the forums. For more info, go to www.earthworkshub.com.au.
Yeah, look, it's a big part, and I don't blame them. I got nothing against that. Like, I always believe brakes and steering are the 2 biggest issues on machinery, and, we do heavily reports. At the mine, we had our own brake testers. Every time it came in for truck breakage, they got brake tested before they'd go out. It's just part and parcel. Don't try and beat the system. That is the system. Follow it. I don't, a lot of my friends work in the mines. I'd hate to see one of them not lose their life. So we make sure that we're up to par with all our ball studs and our checks and all that sort of thing. We've got a truck down at the moment with ball stud issues. So it gets parked up until it gets repaired, mate. So you got to follow suit. So that's just the norm.
Yeah. So to do all that sort of work and that, you must have like mechanics and fitters and stuff working for you. Is that right? Or
we do. I'm probably a little bit different than most people. I pretty well heavily involve myself with contract labour. I'm a contractor as well. We employ the management crews, the planners. We have a few fitters on our books. The contracts that are fully maintained, they're a lot of our own people, but we probably rely on about 50 to 60 contract fitters to help us. And it's just mainly because you're moving around all the time, because ultimately when you repair something, you need that machine to go to work. So you think, well, what's that fitter going to do? You're going to sit around twiddling his thumbs, so he may as well go to another site that requires it. So my business model is worked out on, contract labour. It's not, I don't have anything against employing people, but that's our model. It works for us. We don't have any of our own transport as such. We've got one step deck and Mack truck in our fleet that deliver some of our own components out to site. We have a curtain side Isuzu here in Brisbane that we can deliver parts. We run specials out to mine sites with Hiluxes. So we're pretty much focused on being a dry hire business. We're not a maintenance house. We're not a transport business. We're not a crane business. I'd rather get someone else to do that.
yeah. No,
It just saves so many moving pieces in your business. I know a lot of other people do it and that sort of thing, but it's just been me, and it works for me. And I don't have to have big heaps of people as such on the books, so I don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, and it reduces the overheads, like you say. If you don't need to carry that cost. Yeah, exactly right.
I would have hated to have big overheads when all that 4 months of rain was about, mate, because you couldn't move on the roads. You know, if you had a fleet of trucks and, you know, your own crews and that sort of thing, shit, I don't know if I'd be here talking to you today, so that's for sure. So
Yeah,
it does work for me in that regard. Look, you pay that little bit more premium. You can also turn people on and off. If someone's not pulling their weight, get rid of them. You know, get someone else, that sort of thing. So it works for me. It's been working for me for 14 years. I've got a fair sized business now. It's valued worth over 300 million. So I think did pretty good at it.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Tell us about your opinion on electric machines. Do you reckon we'll head that way, or do you reckon it's still like very far fetched, like especially in mining? What do you think?
Look, you can't turn a blind eye to it. And it's also been around for a long time. Like there's been electric trucks running around in the mining industry for 20, 30 years. So it's not new. It's definitely been pushed by the climate change. Is there a place for it? There probably is. You know, they used to run in Western Australia, they'd run the overhead wires to the trucks. I was lucky enough last year to be a guest at the huge mine expo in Vegas. Probably 80% of the machines there were electric. It's probably not what the mines want. I don't know. They probably get a lot of pressure from the government to go down that route. One thing, we were a guest in Tucson. That is where Caterpillar's proving ground is, where they test a lot of the machines. And in the 240-ton truck range, they offer 3 different truck configurations, which is still your diesel mechanical drive, your diesel electric drive, and then your full electric truck. So they're still offering alternatives to the market. Yeah, a lot of, in your probably the civil side of things, you know, your Arctic trucks, you know, small dozers, your little loaders, everything are all probably going to end up that way.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure if someone out in the back blocks has got a generator and all that sitting there to charge the things up. So I know a few companies that have gone down the route of electric on highway trucks as their delivery vehicles, and it's not working for them. It's a huge expense. So I'll probably cop
yeah,
criticism but this is my point of view, and I've been involved in this industry since I was 16, and I'm now currently 58. So I have been around for a while. It's my view. If you don't like it, tough. You know, we don't say no to it. We did get asked by one of the banks to put solar on our roof and buy Tesla cars, which I didn't do. We did do the solar panels on the roof to see we were moving forward. Am I a believer in climate change? No. The electric stuff, there's places for it in the industry. As far as like electric bulldozers and such, no. I just can't see how that stuff will last in, you know, rip and rock and the vibration. Well, when you start kicking an operator out of a seat because of the fatigue and all that, what's it doing to the electrics? You know, some of my new machines, the latest ones, man, we having serious dramas with them with the electrics. So, you know, there's horses for courses, I think. Sometimes I shake my head at the route that they go. But yeah, look, my opinion, I'll stick to it, change my mind, that sort of thing. So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
there is a place for it, mate. There is a lot of electric drive trucks running around. The Komatsu 830Es and the E's, they're leaders in our field. You know, if you've got large size pits, big P&8 shovels, they've been electric for a long time. They've been around for many years. They're still running around. You know, Cat's big, large excavator, the face shovel, they sort of new on the scene. You know, Cat have got some huge trucks running around now that they've joined forces with Terex and that. So, yeah, look, you'll probably see more and more of them come in. I think FMG have tried electric drive options. I've not heard anything back on what they're doing with theirs yet. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a way of the future.
yeah. No, true, true. Even like like you were saying before, you know, if you're going to have a little civil site full of electric machines, yeah, where do you get the power from. Yeah, you got to have generators on there, so it almost like defeats the purpose. Yeah, true.
It does. I think you've got a long-term, setup. If you're looking to start a, complete new mine site, you look at the power generation, you know, your haul distances, that sort of thing. Is that going to fit the model? Is that where we're going to go, or we're just going to stick with the conventional trucks? So I think new greenfield sites are probably in a better spot to set up than bringing it on to an older site where people are sort of familiar with mechanical trucks. Even when I was talking back with my dad's business, we were one of the first few people to get the new Itachi EH3500s and 1000s electric drive trucks. Well, then you've got to go and hire electricians to do the work on them. Your basic mechanic can't go and start playing around with the high voltage stuff on the truck. They're going to get electrocuted. So then you need those sort of people on board. So it's just not
Yeah,
an easy transition. There's a flow-on effect as well to set the
yeah,
workshop up, training, all that sort of stuff.
yeah. No, you're right. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, there's another whole aspect there. You got to employ different people, and it just changes things. What
Well,
about
you
if?
change you're changing brushes. You got all your PLC rooms up on the top decks. It's virtually a power station. You're generating your own power to run the trucks. You don't want no one sticking their fingers into that sort of stuff. There's all the training side of it as well. Yeah, there's a bit more to them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What about, so if your customers want like GPS on their machines, or like Trimble or Topcon or Mobile or something, do you provide that, or do they just provide their own? Like, do you just give the machine and then they put their technology on?
Yeah, most sites do have like all your collision avoidance systems. They will fit that to the truck, or if it's long term, they'll ask us to do it, supply our own machines. So, like on the Caterpillar machines, we'll have the Vision Link. So that's a bit for us as well to maintain the machines and where they are. If they're doing rehabilitation work on sites, they'll want GPS fitted to them. A lot of the dozer applications in rehab, they'll want all that for the gradients and all that stuff. They'll want it fitted. So it'll be based on if it's short term or long term work, or if they've already got their own systems, they'll usually, when the machine gets to site, they'll fit their own up to the machine.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there you go, man. There you go. So, massive, massive project, I suppose. Like a big business to run. I suppose you got so many states to take care of now. So many 180 something machines. Is that what you said?
Yeah, correct.
That's a lot to do. So tell me a
Like
little bit about.
every
Yeah,
morning we have our 8:30 report. We'll go through all the bosses are on there and the PSR reps and that sort of thing. So we'll go through what's down, what needs attention. The BDMs will get on there and give us a bit of rundown on what work is coming up, or like one of my guys at the moment's in Perth. So, he's just contacted me before coming on the show. So he gives me a rundown on what he wants. In the last few days, I've had the maintenance manager down from Mackay. So we've gone through like forward planning, what jobs are coming up, what our budgets are, what parts we need, what we're going to get financed to get rebuilt. So look, every day there's something goes on in this for sure.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is
Big,
big.
big.
It is big, but I like it. I've always loved this industry. I love being a part of it. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm an operator by trade. I've made a lot of friends in the industry, so yeah, I love being a part of it. There's always a challenge, that's for sure.
It is. It is. It's in the blood though now. It's in the blood. Once it gets in there, that's it. You can't get out. Yeah,
It's very hard to get out. Yes.
yeah,
Look, you can
definitely.
either bleed yellow for cat, or you can bleed orange for Itachi. You get the staunch Komatsu supporters and the cat supporters, and we
Yeah.
always like stirring each other up. Like you were telling me, it's a bit of a hub. It's funny, this industry is so big, but it's so small.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can call on your nearest rival or competitor as such and hit them up for information. Or especially when I started getting into the high track machines, we used to have a lot of issues with them. You'd ring up your competitor and, what dramas are you having with the machine and that sort of things. It's a big industry, but very small. And
Yes.
I know a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how do you see things like changing in the next few years for mining and like how will that affect you? Like, do you think there's going to be some big changes, or do you think it's just sort of going to keep going as it is for a bit?
No, well, the transition's been, a lot of the operators are driverless machines, so autonomous. I think that'll come into the fray because it's just costs. Costs are blowing out. To hire a person these days is tenfold of what I first started when I was at Gillenbar with an operator, what they cost. So, operator costs, fuel costs, they're always wanting you to be fuel efficient. So a lot more fuel efficient machinery, utilising your asset, looking at rebuilds, that sort of thing. Ultimately, climate change, what the government's implementing, what way they want you to go. Clean energy, thermal coal's a dirty word at the moment in the industry. They're wanting to go gas and, windmills, wind farms and that sort of thing. So that's affecting the industry. Transition from people, younger generation, are they keen on doing what I do? Yeah, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be that. I know they're glued to the money side of things, but are they really into it? Are they going to hang around, or is it just a quick fix, get some dollars and take off?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of moving pieces, and I think I think the black coal and everything else will be around for a long time to come. Yeah. Look, the industry's definitely cleaned up a lot since I entered it, that's for sure. It's got a lot stricter and in what they do with their safety and all that sort of thing on sites and people and that. So it's definitely changed.
Yeah. Look, sometimes I laugh at some of the policies and the safety, guidelines and things, but then at the end of the day, it's there for a reason. Yeah, like it's there to protect us. So as much as sometimes I hate when I go on site and they're like, "Oh, where's your helmet and where's this?" and I'm like, "Oh, what a pain in the ass." But I know why. At the end of the day, it's there to protect us. Yeah, you're right.
Look, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, that side of things. Look, I see stuff. I shake my head seriously where the industry is going in some aspects of it. Other
Yeah.
aspects, I'm like, yes, it should have happened years ago. So I do keep my mouth shut sometimes. But look, that's once again, it's my point of view and it's what I've seen with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
You call me a cowboy or whatever, yeah, so be it. I think a lot of emphasis has got to be put back on the person, and the person's also got to take it on their shoulders more. They're in control of $1 million machinery. It's just not some backyard show as such. So, yeah, look, it's huge. It's a good industry to be in. I know a lot of people struggle with the fly in, fly out, living away from home. I got
Yeah.
one of my friends that's actually in the race car with me. He's chose to now work for us at one of our sites. So he flies in, flies out. It's a big thing on a family, especially a young family, and with the dad's not being away or the mum's been not at home all the time. So it's definitely a struggle, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard doing that sort of stuff. I hear a lot of people say they start off happy doing fly in, fly out, and then yeah, not long after they're over it. But everyone just
Yeah,
gets attracted to the money. Like you say, everyone's glued to the money. If they're not glued to their phone, they're glued to the money. That's what it is. Yeah.
it is. Like, it does offer shit. It can get you ahead big time. Like, I've only ever worked for one mining company and then I got into owning my own business. So I see things through a little bit different eyes than everyone else. But, it's serious coin what people earn.
Yeah.
You do see what they're earning overseas and that sort of thing. And yeah, fair enough if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, but I think the industry offers some serious money where you can get ahead. Like, and if you're doing it with your wife, especially when you're young, there's some serious coin to be made. And if you're very smart and wise with your money, man, it can set you up for a pretty good future, that's for sure.
Yeah. 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 I've heard of guys come back from a couple of years in the mine and they've like paid their houses off, bought houses cash outright and stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty big. Yeah. Pretty big.
Yeah, well, then on the other side, you get people that just blow every cent of it, and they got nothing to show for it. So I got a few
Yeah.
people I know like that, but then others are very wise and very smart with their money, and they've gone on to start their own businesses. They got nice homes and big families and as such, and got the cars and the boats and everything. Well, good on them for doing that. Like, I don't like people mouthing off about people with money and stuff. Go out and earn it. Simple as that.
That's right. I think most of the time I've heard a guy say it, that a lot of people don't like to see others succeed, or they get jealous, so and they automatically assume they're doing something shifty just because they've got all this stuff, and it's like you can achieve it if you really want to. Yeah.
Oh, look, I cop that all the time when I started doing this and I started racing and that sort of thing. It was the jealousy curse, and we had people on my sites getting jealous of what we do and that sort of thing. But look, I chose to do this. I'm at risk. I'm the one that owes the bank the money. I've got people working for me. I've got to keep their livelihoods going as well. They rely on me to keep the show going as well. So, look, I pretty well turn off to all that stuff now. It doesn't bother me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
I pretty well turn off. I enjoy what I do. I'm nearly 60-year-old, mate. So if I can't enjoy what I've done in the last few years, well, give it away. So I don't listen to
Yeah.
people anymore. Simple as that.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how when I talk to people, they always say, as a boss, you shouldn't have a nice car because then, the employees are going to say, oh, look at the money we're making for him. So the bosses end up driving the old bombs and stuff. And even me, I still drive an old Mitsubishi Triton and stuff. And I think if I turned up to some job site in my brand new Ranger, Ford Ranger or something, or Raptor or something, they're going to go, oh, this guy's got money. And then it makes you think about what you're going to do. And it's a shame that you have to actually not enjoy yourself because you don't want others to have a different perception. It's just crazy how it works.
Well, you got to lay yourself to society, mate.
Yeah.
What society sees you in. But look, I was doing that. We'd buy, standard cars and all that and drive them on mine sites so we weren't noticed and stuff like that. I even got told by a mining manager at a certain mine site that he didn't want to see me driving around in Maseratis, which was
There you
very
go.
funny. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, no worries. You're not allowed to make any more than 3% profit margin and all that. And I went, dude, I can put money in the bank and earn more than that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard all the stories and shit like that, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I do what I do. Shoot me down if you don't like it, or stay away from me if you don't like me. So I do what I do and I have my fun. I've put my life into this business, so I don't know how to do anything else. This is what I do.
Yeah.
So when I finally retire, I'll say that I gave it my all.
Yeah. So what's the plan for the business for the next 5 to 10 years? You say what's your plan? What's coming up? Can you tell us anything? Yeah.
Look, a few times we've talked about selling, getting out. Brendan, my business partner, wanted to go and do his own things, and same with me. But at the moment, we're cruising along. We'll weather the storm. It's sort of a bit quiet times at the moment, but we've also had good times. So it's the good and the bad. Ventured into buying a couple of the new D11 Ts or D11, the KSN, the latest ones. Look, we're still moving ahead. Still keen to grow the business. We look at every little nook and cranny as far as the job goes. Still very active, that side of things. We grew into WA and into wet New South Wales. So, look, at the moment, we'll just weather this storm and come out the other side and see where it leads us. Look, I'm not far off. Couple of years to come off till I'm 60. Who knows till then? If someone comes along and offers us some money for the business, do you take it? I don't know. We'd look at anything, mate. So I think
Yeah.
I've done my fair share in this industry, that's for sure.
Yeah. Good. Tell us a little bit now about this racing. Did that start as just like a way to wind down, like as a bit of a side hobby? And what is it? Like, what do you actually do for people that don't know? Yeah, tell us about this racing that you do.
Yeah, well, I race off-road vehicles at the moment, trophy trucks. A Brenthal all-wheel drive trophy truck, upwards of about 1,000 horsepower, 37 inches of wheel travel, top speed of around 200 kilometres an hour. We just had a race on the weekend out at St George, about 6 hours from Brisbane. Finished 8th overall and 4th in class. We had a few electrical issues on that day. A lot of what I do in the mining industry, I transition into the racing, especially with logistics, parts ordering, repairs and that sort of thing. But I came from a motocross background. And then when I got into running the business, pretty well left that behind. Had to dabble a few more times in motocross. A few broken bones sort of kept me away from work, so that didn't go down too well. Got into the smaller recreational UTVs, as they've called, side-by-sides. Got into them as a bit of fun, bit of stress relief on weekends. Well, then I don't do anything in halves. So then I had to race one of these things, which took me then to racing in America. So I've done now nearly 40 trips to America racing. We won 2 world championships. We won a Best in the Desert championship over there. Made heaps of friends over there, and currently I do have a race car over there that lives at Lake Havasu in Arizona. So I had a team over there. I was only talking to him this morning. So I pretty well raced there for 4 years straight until Mr. COVID come along and ruined all the travel and all that sort of stuff. Moved back here with the racing. Some of the states, Victoria was shut down with racing. Us Queenslanders were up here still running around in the bush, so that was quite good. I've got a lot of good race friends in Victoria. We used to put shit on them for their government locking them down.
Yeah, don't start that. Yeah.
Don't start that. Yes, that was touchy at that time. But look, it is a chance to wind down. And also I've met some amazing people like I have in my mining industry. They're a community within themselves. They're some of my best friends on the planet. The guys I've met in the US are some of my dearest friends. You know, I've known their kids and their wives and everything. So I'd go over there for business and for racing as well. So, buying machines out of Empire Cat and machines out of Texas and that sort of thing. That's what sort of got me into the racing, so I blame him for my obsession. Yeah, and look, came back here and transitioned to racing here, and didn't take too long before we got the hang of it here as well and moved into the bigger cars. And last year we finished second in the Fink Desert race out in Alice Springs, which is one of Australia's biggest races, so that was huge for us. And then this year we've had a sort of an up and down season with mechanical issues and as such. We didn't finish where we wanted to. We've changed a lot of componentry around, and next year we'll have a good crack at it. So it is definitely a big part of my life now. I've been doing it for so long. I think near 15 years. I was a pretty late bloomer to it, by the way, too. So I've had heaps of fun, mate. They're an absolute adrenaline junkie machine. You get out of them and you're on a high for a very long time, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you're an inspiration to be still doing that at 58, and I always think that's what I want to be like. I still want to be able to do all that sort of stuff, So it's
well,
good.
when we first bought the trophy truck in the States, I was shitting myself, not lying to you, freaking out to the max. And they put me in front of another car. I walked back to that car to say, look, if you catch me, give me a toot and come around. And when I got there, this guy, his name is called Gramps. This guy's 83-year-old, mate. He pulls the helmet off and he's going, "Don't worry, Sonny, it's all good, mate. I'm out there cruising around." And I'm thinking, wow, I hope I'm doing this stuff at that age, if I've still got money. But, man, it's so cool to see people like that, still cruising around. There's guys here in Australia that are older than me still doing it, but, man, I get called a veteran now at age 58, that's for sure. But, look, I had a good run with some young kids on the weekend and come out on top, so I'm still pretty keen and I still love doing it, and it's a chance to get away. Next weekend we go up north, so we've got a transition of it's going to get hot, and catch up with different friends up there. And now I got my business partner's young fella into it as well, young Kai, and, man, he's got no fear and he's fast as. So, he's got our business name on his race car, which is a good thing. And Brendan's really probably more obsessed than I am now, that's for sure. So it's a family thing. Nigel, our maintenance manager, is into it. Les, our PSR rep, he's into it, and his daughter races as well. So it's definitely a good community that we're into. And my navigator in my car works for us on one of the sites. He cops a fair bit of shit from that too, by the way. Gets special attention from me. So
yeah.
Corey's been my navigator from day dot in Australia, so he's been with me nearly 10 years. So we've got a special connection in the car, that's for sure, and we've had some good times together. But yeah, look, it's one of the good things about owning this size business that I can afford to do it. It is an expensive hobby. I have a lot of good sponsors that help us out as such. So it makes life a bit easier. And also I sponsor the factory Yamaha motocross team in Australia, Craig Dack's team. They're based in Victoria. It's something that's dear to my heart. So we got on board with that. And it's good because we can take our customers along for the day to watch the motocross. So that's another big thing. A lot of good media. We get through it. A lot of people on mine sites, either kids race motocross or the parent races motocross. So that was a big thing for us being part of that. And Craig's been very good to us this year. Unfortunately, our top rider broke his leg. So poor old Jed was leading the championship and broke his leg. So he's out. So yeah, we are heavily sponsored in the community as well, doing kids stuff, sponsoring school groups, different sports, cricket, golf tournaments. We sponsor the motocross, we sponsor off-road, all that sort of thing. So give back to the community where we can.
Yeah, that's really good. Really, really good. You mentioned Craig Dack. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have his posters on my wall. I think I actually have a Yamaha jersey and it has Dack Attack written on the back of it. I'm pretty sure I do. I'll have to check my covers now when we finish. I'm going to check this. But I remember I used to get all the magazines because I was into dirt bikes and that, and I had Dack Attack and posters of him and that when I was young. Yeah, there you go, man.
Look, I was the same. I grew up, my whole room was dedicated to motocross. My whole life was dedicated to motorbikes. I eat, sleep, breathe motocross. And to get the opportunity to go and meet Craig and sit down and work out a deal and have my name on the side of his transporter has been a huge thing to me. It was someone who I watched on the track as, like Stephen Gall and Jeff Leask and Glenn Bell and all them guys growing up as a kid watching them.
Yeah.
And now to walk amongst them, and we help with other sponsored stuff as well. But to get my name on the side of Craig's big transporter has been very special to me. So we've got a couple of Supercross meets coming up later on in the year. We've got one in Victoria, one here in Brisbane, and at the Gold Coast, Newcastle. So we'll go along and watch the riders there and catch up with him. So that's also been very good for our business side with the media side of things.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed it too on your Instagram. I saw the trailer and stuff with the stick with Comiskey written on it. Yeah, there you go.
No, that's how that come about. Look, I'm not being biased, and like we sponsor other things as well. Kids soccer and football and those sorts of things. Someone puts a proposal forward, we see if it's a benefit or a benefit in the community where we work. We're not just being biased towards what I like, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We've helped some of the big off-road races. We've sponsored Toby Price, our legendary Dakar winner, so we sponsored him for a bit. I live next door to him, so that was a good thing in my life as well. So, yeah, it's a big part of our business, getting involved in the local community, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, that's really, really good. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and the journey and how the business works. And I think our listeners would have learnt a lot from today. I think they would have learnt a lot from this episode.
Look, I'm still learning myself, mate. I'm not an expert in every field. I definitely listen to other people. I'm not my head up my arse type person. If I'm not sure about something, I'll ask. I have a guy that preps our race cars because I just don't get time sometimes. And at the moment, I'm trying to learn to play guitar as well. That's another thing I've always been involved in because I was involved in bands when I was younger. It's always learning. It's a good part of the team that we've got in Comiskey Mining Services. Always listen to their side of the story and, they might not know something behind closed doors, and that's my side of input that comes into a decision. Definitely last year was a big challenge with banks. I learned a lot about banking, so that was something else I took on board. Had the highs and lows of it. Managing machinery, forward planning. I've got some really good people on board now, so it's a credit to our team and how much we've grown over the years. So this is our 14th, 15th year that we've been going for, and considering we're only thinking about doing 7 years and giving it away, we're still here and kicking, mate. So, yeah, look, good times to come. Up and down like anyone else in the industry. There's a lot of people struggling. It's not easy at the moment, and we've gone through a couple of big downturns in our industry. The 2013 downturn, well, that was big to get through, and we did. We changed a lot of things in our business, and we come out the other side. So you learn from the definite lows in a business, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And even like, a lot of people look at some of these millionaires in the world, or billionaires, and you find out that often they've gone down 2 or 3 times before they've come back up again. So, they've gone bankrupt or started again. So yeah, that's just, and it's all learning. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from experiences, and then you just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, when I worked for my dad, like we went through a stage there when the drought set in because we did land development work. I ended up going to work for someone else on cotton farms. Like I was getting paid $200 a week, and which covered my car payment. I was living at home. And then in this business, we cut all flights, we cut credit card usage, we cut motels, we cut meals out. There for a while we were living the high, peeing money up the walls, having a good fat time, and, we were quick enough to turn it off. It's the same with the racing side of things. If there's no money in the budget, well, we don't go racing, simple as that. So it's to learn to do that stuff and learn to pick up on things pretty quickly, to turn shit off and be proactive. Don't be so proud sometimes if you're seen eating a fucking steak, from Woolies instead of going eating Wagyu at a restaurant. That's like, I live normal on weekends. I take my own lunch every day to work. I don't go and eat restaurant food. I take my own breakfast, my own smoker, my own lunch, because it's just too expensive. So, and that's what I do.
Yeah, that's the realities of owning a business. A lot of people have these dreams and think, oh, I'm going to own my business, and then I'm going to be able to go out restauranting, drive a Maserati, just turn up to work, see what the boys are doing, and go home. But it's nothing.
You can
like
do that
yeah.
for so long, mate, and you can get away with it sometimes. You see people that do, and fair enough, good on them. I tend to hang around people that are on the same levels that I do because I don't like being criticised for what I do or what I drive or what I do on weekends. I hang around with people of that same mentality. Look, I applaud anyone that's done good. I don't make comments against them going, oh, you're a little rich or whatever. I don't do that because behind that story, man, is probably someone who's done a shit ton. And anyone in the earth moving industry with failures, machine failures, government bullshit, bills, all the crap in the world has been thrown at you. Look, my hat's off to anyone who's done any good at business. I applaud them for getting somewhere, and if they're living in a skyscraper, good on them.
Yeah. No, well said, man. I agree. Well, you know what, Brett? I think we've covered a fair bit. Is there anything that you wanted to cover or talk about? Have I missed out on anything?
No, look, I'm always open. I talk to a lot of people in the industry. I try and help as many people. Anyone who wants to have a crack at starting their own business, I never turn people off like that. I always try and encourage people to do it. Look, jump the fence. Go and have a crack at it. Don't procrastinate. I've helped some of my friends jump the fence and they own their own businesses and such. So, look, don't get stuck in a rut. If you're looking at someone or you even like working for me and you don't like what I'm doing or whatever, go and have a go yourself. It's not always green. You'll probably work out why I make decisions the way I do. There's a whole other world out there. No one's ever suppressed me at doing stuff. The world's your oyster, all that sort of thing. So I'm always open for a chat. Give me a call, contact me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. If you want to know some ins and outs and the do's and don'ts, I'm quite happy to help anyone out, like people help me out. So that's how you learn.
Good. Thank you very much. I think the listeners will appreciate that. No, good.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice, man. Brett Komatsu, thank you very much once again for joining us, sharing everything that you know, and some interesting stories there. And yeah, you're a legend, man. Thank you. Thanks for being a nice guy, man. A nice, easy guy to talk to.
Thank you, Ivan. No, good to be on the show, mate. Earthworks Hub. So, yeah, listeners, do yourself a favour and jump on and listen to Ivan.
That's it. Thank you. Thanks for the plug. Guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you all on the next one. Take care, everyone.
Yeah,
For trucks, obviously. On the lot.
became steel resistant.